Yo, what up? Buenos dias. Let's get right into it. So, yesterday, had a podcast, talked about anti and reverse aging. You may have seen some other things that I put up there about health and wellness coaching. Pretty much that's all grounded in anti and reverse aging principles. Now, I was talking to my cousin yesterday, my cousin Vinny, and he's in Boston, and he's a young college man at this time, and he once stayed in this very living room about 1 year ago. He stayed with me for about a month, and I did not try and initiate him. I did not try and put him on any type of program. However, somehow he's forever changed. He began meditating here, and from one night to the next morning, less than 8 hours between seeing him, I could see that he was completely different. The energy around him was different. And I had this similar experience, which I call Kundalini rising. And it really was from one moment to the next that I was forever changed. So it definitely had some type of something happen. Pent up energy that was awarded to him in that moment. And since then, he's going off to college, and he's having a great time, great experience. And I think it's very funny the things that he's talking about and talking about with me. We're able to have a very serious but yet completely humorous conversation in which we turn everything into a joke. However, I know everyone has an algorithm, let's say. Everyone's perception is their reality. And what they're exposed to, what everyone is exposed to is different, and everyone's living in these little incubators. And they're getting confirmation bias over and over and over again, and getting the whatever it is that you're looking at, you're going to keep seeing it everywhere. And you're going to be fed that information by whatever social media you're using. And I know that exists. I know I live in my own incubator. It's just amazing to me that my incubator is predominantly neuroscience related, neuroscientist dominant, and fitness and health. In my world, I'm late. I'm late to the party. This research on anti and reverse aging has been, first of all, you go back to ancient times. If you go back to ancient Egypt, they were talking about anti and reverse aging, and they had their own plans and structures to mitigate age. And if you look at it like a history book and not mythology, they got people who say they're living for thousands of years. Do with that what you may. However, they were talking about it then. So the fact that fast forward to now and the science has really caught up. If you're behind science, you're late. You're very late. Science is just explaining what's going on in the natural world, what's already going on in the natural world. Science is giving it a name. So if you're behind science, then you haven't had direct experience with what's going on in the natural world. Now, that's fine. Luckily, for most people, there's not an exact timeline that can't be reversed. Oh, it's anti-aging, but it's also reverse aging. You can go backwards biologically. My cousin has taken it upon himself, apparently, to speak in this type of way in his classrooms. And for the most part, allegedly, he's been met with confusion and maybe looking at him like Pierce, maybe looking at him like, what's wrong with this kid? And I think that's hysterical. And also, it surprises me. I guess it shouldn't, but it surprises me that at this point in time, with the amount of knowledge at our fingertips and the amount of fingertips on that knowledge, especially this age demographic, they haven't been exposed to the words anti-reverse aging. They haven't been exposed to the words, let alone to understand that it's something that is happening, something that exists, something that people are participating in. Haven't heard anything about it. So I think it's really life altering, life changing to know that, anti-reverse aging was once essentially mythology, essentially impossible. And now not only is it possible, people are doing it. So, and this is mainstream knowledge. This isn't woo-woo. This isn't something that's just happening now. The data's already out. Yes, they're still working on it for more and more data, but the data's already out. In Boston, take a stroll down the street over to Harvard, where Dr. David Sinclair has done most of his work. If you haven't heard of Dr. David Sinclair, it's not surprising. He does have New York Times bestseller talking about this exact thing. He has been all over what's called the intellectual dark web, I believe, which is like Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Russell Brand, I'm sure is in there now. Whatever. He's made the rounds. If you don't know him, maybe you know Andrew Huberman. He's pretty huge. His podcast is pretty huge. Professor out of Stanford, where they've done very similar work. And government, if you're behind government, you're light. Government all over the world is taking actions to control and disperse funding towards anti-reverse aging research. Duh, as they should. Of course, they're late as fuck. Of course. So if you're a 19-year-old kid and you got your phone in your hand all day and you never heard of anti-reverse aging, it's just shocking to me, and I think really unfortunate because you want to get to the point where this is not something to be surprised by. You want to get to the point where this is commonplace. This is taught, and you would think in the universities where they're talking about philosophy and it's an ethical thing and blah 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 blah. No matter your opinion on it, it should be talked about because this is the next great revolution of the human species. This is the thing that will change everything. And science kind of leads the charge, and neuroscience is leading the charge, and at the helm is anti and reverse aging. And I love it. I love it. You're either aging or you're not in every single moment. So you could replace that with you're either going high frequency or going low frequency. You're either decaying or you're prospering. You can change the words, but every decision you make affects how your DNA optimizes itself. So a lot of our history, we have thought that your genetics predetermine your outcome. And we now living in an age where we have the ultimate liberation of that not being true. Your genetics are responsible for less than 1% of what becomes of you. So that's 99% that you can participate in. And we're talking about nature, nurture. Your environment determines whether your DNA is activated in a positive way or a negative way in every single moment throughout the entirety of your life. Was your DNA activated in a positive way or a negative way? If it was positive, then you weren't aging. If it was negative, then you were aging. And it's fascinating, and it's not a doomsday message. It's not a you can choose the freedom of choice. You can choose whether you age or not. I mean, and that's always been the case, but now we know it. So I think for those who want to take that information and run with it, quite literally, then it's amazing to think. Obviously, you can get hit by a bus at any time, or anything can happen to you, but we live in the safest time ever and the most abundant time ever. So, and put the most amount of knowledge ever. So you can make this life how you want it to be. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, then maybe you want to do it for other people, because when you age, you become a burden on everyone else. And it takes people giving up their lives to take care of you. So maybe you won't do it for you, but you would do it for somebody else. And if you're aging, the number one precursor for every single disease ever is aging. As you age, your vulnerability to disease skyrockets. So if you just don't age, easier said than done. If you just don't age, you're putting yourself further away from all the gnarly things that come with being a human being. Gnarly in a nasty way. You don't want any of these diseases. You're only as good as your program. My program has been really good of late. I've gotten this time alone where I've gotten to build myself, and I've really been pushing and really I listen to myself. So I steer myself to what it is that I think that I want in that moment. Recently, or as of September 1st, really September 3rd or August 31st, but as of, let's say, to September 1st, I said, we're going monk mode. We're monk mode for me, meditating multiple times a day, ceasing momentum, exercising multiple times a day, sweating every day, getting in the ocean, swimming, journaling multiple times a day, reading, and now doing this as well, getting my thoughts out and really making this more of a external game. And it has turned into reaching out to people, reaching out to family and friends and checking in on people. And that only happens when frequency raises. So it's going really well. And one thing that I have been prioritizing is push. When I think a number, okay, I'm going to do this exercise. I think a number, whatever it is, first number that comes to mind. That number comes to mind because that's the number I've been doing for a long time. I've been doing that number because it's what I think I can do every day. So the only pushing is the fact that I'm doing it every single day. However, I'm not increasing what I'm capable of doing, and that makes my mind stagnant because I want to push. I want to exert as much energy as I can. That feels good to me. So the change that I've made is when I think a number, whatever that number may be, I'm gonna do one more, 100%. So, and I make this is happening as I'm going to do it. Let's say it's a pull up, so I'm gonna go jump up on the bar. As I'm going to jump up on the bar, I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna do 5, and then I think, no, I'm gonna do 6. Okay, once I've done the 5, as I'm doing it, I think, okay, 2 more. Okay, 1 more. Okay, 2 more. Okay, 1 more. Okay, 2 more. Okay, 1 more. The way I think that is just 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. That's way easier than saying I'm gonna do whatever number it is that you put in your head. Because if you have noticed, if you're a fitness person or someone who really is tuned in with how the mind works, and I've always noticed this, I never knew why, but even when I was 11 years old and I started working out and I would, really got into it, and I would say, whatever it is, I'm going to do 50 push-ups. At 40, I'm gassed out. And I got to struggle to finish. You work your way up, I'm going to do 64 push-ups. At 55, gassed out. If you say you're going to do 30 push-ups, at 20, you're gassed out because your mind just makes it this game of just doesn't want to. It just doesn't want to. And you got to push through that or not. And those are things that stay with you throughout life. Is either you're going to push through this thing or you're not. And every time you allow yourself not to, you create this alternate version. You feed this alternate version of yourself that knows it doesn't have to, and you don't. You could go and go for a run, and you say I'm gonna run a mile, and after 3 laps, you say, nah, I'm just gonna go home. And you go home. The next time you come out, you say you're gonna run 3 laps, and you run 2 laps, and you say, nah, I'm just gonna go home. And you can play that game with everything. And what happens is you just slide, and there's seemingly an infinite depth of how deep you can slide. And once you've slid so deep in life and you've just withdrawn from everything, that momentum to cease that momentum and start up and go back in the opposite direction is so difficult. Even though you're suffering, it's so difficult to shake that up and go back the other way. So I have just never allowed myself to do that. And for much of my life, that meant that I would injure myself by working too hard and then work through that injury. Not really work around it, work through it, make it worse, and just make my life miserable. But now I'm more in tune and more aware and more conscious of self. So now I'm I got on this routine of doing the same workout or similar workout and never really pushing myself, just not getting tired and then building strength, not get tired and then come back, not going for a crazy amount, but a crazy amount of reps throughout the day. And knowing that I'm doing that 7 days a week. So other people aren't, but forget about other people. I didn't always do that. So the volume is there, but I've decided to push. And the pushing has felt so good and it's been so easy. And I've wondered, what the fuck is my limit? And today, but I never was a person to take a rest day. That was always a big issue with me. And I started taking rest days a while back, and then I don't know what happened, but it just stopped happening. So I've been thinking about, well, I'm pushing hard. I should probably take a rest day. But I always think something will come up. Something will come up where you can't work out. And things come up. Maybe you get sick or you gotta go somewhere, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you can't do a workout. Or something hurts or whatever. But I decided I'm not gonna wait on that because I don't want anything to come up to keep me from working out. So I I decided today is an off day. Just gonna keep it light. Go down there, do a little light workout. That is helpful because mentally, physically, spiritually, I feel like I'm off. It's an off day. I'm not here to work hard today. So I went down there with a completely different mentality. Felt like, oh yeah, it's a good thing I'm taking off day. I feel a little low energy, blah, blah, blah. Then pretty much did my whole work. And it felt so good because I felt like I was having an off day. I felt like my mentality was different. So I was just like, oh, I'm doing this today because I just want to. And I didn't do the push today. I didn't do the 2-1, 2-1. I just put a number and I did it. And that's it. And then I would just forget about it. Like, okay, I'm not exercising right now. And then think of an exercise and then just do it. And not getting tired, feeling completely comfortable. And I've been jogging, which has turned more into running and pushing. And that's felt really great. And today I decided I'm not gonna push. I'm just gonna jog slowly, a lot. And I jogged a lot slowly and jogged multiple different times. got a couple miles in, and just feels great to break a sweat and to not it really felt like I wasn't exerting energy today because I wasn't like trying to see how much energy I could exert. So that's interesting. And it was a good time. And I think I'll take another off day tomorrow. In different news, I was walking around this beautiful neighborhood yesterday, and I'm on the phone with my cousin, got the one headphone in, and walking past this beautiful area overlooking a cliff, and I see a lady sitting down, chilling, hanging out with a fake skeleton laying down next to her. Fake skeleton had a phone in his hands. Looked like he was looking at the phone. Maybe that was a message that she was sending to everyone. Uh, Maybe she's a reverse ager, and she wanted to make the point that if you're looking at your phone, you're aging. Or and I passed her. She looked at me, and as soon as she looked at me, I knew she was crazy. And I narrated to my cousin once we were out of range, the scenario that I just seen, and it didn't strike me as odd, really. Um, when I first saw it, I was thinking, I hope that's not a real skeleton. But once I found out, so I could see that it's a big skeleton. It's like, she's not bothering nobody. She's having a good time. And my cousin thought this was hysterical, and it is funny, but it's not fun. I also thought it was very fun, but it's not fun. It's the fact that I didn't think it was too out of the ordinary. That's what's not fun. This is a beautiful neighborhood, awesome place. There's so many freaking rooms on the streets, just at any time. And it's just that's why I didn't think this woman was out of the ordinary. And this is obviously a problem LA is having. New York has this problem, but it's really a different problem because New York's crazy people are actually less crazy because they have a lot of shelters in New York, and shelters, are terrible. But the alternative is not having shelters, which is way worse. You got people living on the streets. The violent crime is really crazy on crazies. The violent crime is crazy. So in New York, they try and get people into the shelters, but they can't. In LA, they don't have enough room in their shelters to house everyone. So it's really a different issue. And people living on the street here, it's not necessarily on purpose. And they are going through it. And it is not valid for a society to just keep walking past these people and acting as if they don't exist, acting as if this mental health crisis doesn't exist, acting as if this is a fair and level game for everyone, and you can just figure it out and get out there and compete with everyone else. I like to think that as much as the next person, but you know what? When you look at these people, they ain't competing with nobody, and they not getting it back together. It's gone. It's over. And the answer is to work on work on kids in schools, work with meditation, all these all these things that kids should be learning that they don't know that they're learning. They're learning how to be a human, giving them some kind of manual because obviously nobody has a manual down here. And things are difficult and people can't deal with it. And then they end up on the street and they end up outside your house. Then you don't want that. So what do? You just they just shuffle them around, just move them around like like they're not people. And it's really fucked up and it's not valid. And it really doesn't make me feel uncomfortable because I can spot them from a mile away and I know how to navigate them and they're often attracted to me and they want to have a nice little chat and I have no interest in this. However, I entertain it way too often and it just makes me feel like I don't want to have, but my family right now is my girlfriend. That's my family. I am responsible for her protection. That's the thing that I'm best at. And it's something I care about deeply. So I become, you know, not wanting to leave her here by herself and go on a trip somewhere and leave her here, even though she's okay with it. It's like it's not valid to me because I feel like when I've been on trips without her, I've thought about her safety throughout the day, and that lessens my experience on my trip. So it's like feels like it's not worth it anymore. And I want a family, and I want kids, and I'm very passionate about where am I going to raise these kids, and safety is number one for me. So, uh, one place I've been looking into is there's these relocation grants for going to Spain because they're having a population issue in these small, beautiful, scenic, tranquil, peaceful towns. And they are giving grants to young couples to come move there, buy a home, fix up a home, and their goal is that you have children there. And obviously, that's a big change, but this is the time to do something adventurous like that. I don't have any kids. I don't have anything tying me down. I have my laptop and I have ways of making money. So I can go anywhere. I've spun a lot of plates and seen what lands all over the US and there's about 5, 6 different places that I'm interested in. And again, last night sitting here eating dinner, chilling, and I hear a gunshot right outside my window. And I look, and it's these two dudes speeding behind each other on his ass, flying up this hill. And I'm like, damn, I'm glad that I'm here by myself. And again, that shit did not strike me as odd at all. It was just like, completely normal. And this is a nice ass neighborhood. So unless you ask anybody else from around here, then they'll be like, "Oh, Pedro, man, you gotta be careful. You gotta shit is dangerous, man. You gotta really look out." Why you wouldn't be paying attention and looking out wherever you are, I don't know. But that's not been my experience here at all. And I used to be out at night here every single night. I used to be walking these streets and I never saw anything. Yes, I saw crazies and I saw mostly a lot of fucking rodentia that I was not interested in at all. That boys run up on you. Those raccoons, they'll come from anywhere. I'll drop out of the sky on you. And you got possums, you got rats, you got skunks, and man, you got freaking beetles, spiders crawling all over the floors at nightlife. So I stopped doing that because I thought one of these rodents were gonna carry me away, but not because it's dangerous. And if it was gonna be dangerous, that would be the time to be dangerous. If you're out past midnight and you're out in the street, that's the time something would happen. So that's the thing about the crazies. I have a theory that like rabid animals are out during the day and they're not supposed to be because their circadian rhythm is fucked up and they care more about being rabid than they do being asleep. So a lot of these mentals out here be out during the day and they be out during the night, but they be getting active during the day. And that's not something allegedly in the generation before ours was something that didn't happen. In the day, you were safe in the daytime. And I will say that I'll take daytime mentals over the crime stats that my parents grew up with in New York, where there's 2,000 plus murders every year, and now it got down to 200 plus. It's up to like 400 plus. But you know what? 400 is not 2,000. And people think it's way worse as Armageddon out here right now because all of those 400 murders, you could probably look them up and watch them on social media. Whereas people used to be getting murdered and nobody ever reported or talked about it because it was just a regular fucking day. So they're like, oh yeah, but now the murders the murders are crazier. Like people are just crazy. Murders are just way more fucked up than they used to be. You're either dead or you aren't. I will take 400 Mike Myers kills than 2,000 what nice homicides. I'm gonna feel way safer if I know that Mike Myers is out there killing 400 people a year in New York than I would knowing that just regular people out here killing 2,000. It doesn't even make any sense. So, yeah. Skeleton lady. Skeleton lady. It all comes back to that. And hours later, she was out here having a mental breakdown outside my window. Holding that skeleton's head and dragging her around, talking about something about the government. So that's where I'm at. Once again, covered a lot there. A lot of crazy mental shit. And leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's going on. Appreciate you for listening, especially if you got to this moment. That's pretty fucking wild. Appreciate you. See you.